Hey ladies, welcome to session number 4. In this session, we're going to talk about identifying your priorities and how you can live into them. Leanne Napier from our iBloom team is going to lead this session, which is so perfect. And I just love her real life examples of how she just weaves everyday stuff into her priorities. She is the master of taking one activity and allowing it to be like 3 or 4 priorities. And it is so incredibly inspiring to me. So thrilled, Leanne, that you are leading this session. I'll let you take it away.
Thank you, Kelly. Okay, oh my goodness, I'm so excited to talk about this because it is so important. I mean, I feel like Kelly always says, this is my favorite session. So I'm going to say, this is my favorite session. And it's because no one else is going to sit down and take the time to help you other than, something like this, to choose what your priorities are and then to make a plan on how to put that into your actual planner, that beautiful iBloom planner, which, anyway, we want to fill this up with what fills us up, not with just stuff. And so what this allows us to do, this session allows us to say, we're not going to compare our lives to anybody else's. We're not going to compare our ministry to anybody else's. We're not going to compare our children or anything on our list to anyone else. We want to look at this strictly from when it's down to just God and me. What do I think is most important? And then we want to make sure that those answers are what ends up on our day-to-day activities. There shouldn't be other things on there, really. I mean, unless you feel like you have, maybe if you're, even if you're 15 years old, there still shouldn't be things on there that are not lined up with what you think is most important. I love that. Yes, fill our planner with what fills us up. No one else is going to do that for you. You have to take time to think about this. So an analogy that I came up with that I love is let's imagine we're getting ready to go on a trip, okay? If you're like me, you tend to be an overpacker. And what I mean by this is you lay your suitcase out on the bed and you get out all the things, all those lovely things you think you're going to need on this trip. And one by one, you put this stuff on the bed. And then you try to put it into outfits or whatever to make sure you have enough for the trip. Well, if you're like me, you always end up with more than what's going to fit into your suitcase. I don't know if you guys can identify with that. But let's use this analogy and say that when we're going on a trip, we want to get to that priority that we think is so important in our lives. So let's say it is a healthy marriage, or it is thriving parenting that really prepares our kids for life. Whatever that destination is that you want to be a huge priority for you, that's where we're going, okay? So if you use that analogy, let's say we're going to go to Florida, okay? Are you going to take your snow boots to Florida if you're going in the summer? No, you're going to leave those at home. Well, sometimes it's even more specific to that. Let's say you're like me and you're an overpacker and you want to take everything with you because you might need it. I mean, you might need it. You might need those leopard sandals. You might need the cute little shirt that only goes with one thing. Or you might find all these cute things that you want to take because they're your newest stuff, but they don't really go with anything else. And so you're only going to wear them one time. But there's just precious amount of room in that suitcase. So we can't fit it all. And then if you're flying, you actually get charged for taking more than one bag, or sometimes even just for taking that one bag. So it's expensive to take more than what you really need to get to where you're going. Are you with me, girls? So anyway, we want to look back and we want to keep our destination for this season in mind as we pack our schedule. So we also want to look for ways to mix and match. And that's what Kelly was saying that I have as a strength. And it's not because I think I'm excellent at anything. It's just that I saw that I had so many things that I wanted to do, and my time was so limited to get those things done, that if I didn't start mixing and matching things together, I wasn't going to get to do them. And I was going to have to say no for a long time. One example of that is, and you can't really see it, but it's behind me on the wall. Let me see if I can show you guys real quick. There's an art wall behind me on the wall. I don't know if you can see that. But anyway, one day I was looking at my budget, and I was looking at my desire to make my home look more like me, like just more personal. And there was no budget for that. Like there was $0 left to buy wall art or whatever. But it was a priority to me. I didn't want to wait until we had paid off all of our debt and all those things to make the house look like mine. So what I did was I just went shopping in my own garage, and I found things, I found frames, I found canvases that I didn't love anymore, and I made them something that I did love. So like this one up here above my head, I don't know if you can see that. It says, "What a Wonderful World." I hope I'm not making you guys dizzy. But anyway, that had been a picture of a guy holding this big cello that had hung in my parents' home forever. But it was just this big frame, and I was like, I'll use that frame for something someday. And so I turned it into a quote that I loved. And on each of the little spots, it looks like lines from when you look at it from far away. But when you read each line, it says things that we love. So there's names of our favorite foods on there. There's the favorite people's names that we love, places we love to visit. It's just very personal, very about our family. It makes me feel home when I look at it. So I wasn't willing to wait, so I made it happen by combining other things. I took the decluttering that needed to happen, and I turned it into something that I loved and I wanted to showcase in my home. So that's just an example of like finding a way to make it happen when you have a priority that needs to be met. Okay, so you're going to look for ways to mix and match, and you're going to just come to terms. Your day only has so much room. You only have so much time. So what you take with you is so important. You don't have time to be weighed down by the excess, by taking too much stuff or taking those boots that you won't even have time to wear on this trip. But you want to pack what you can't live without. So I think you can change to the next slide there, Dawn. Thank you so much. Okay, so you can't be all things to all people, nor do you have unlimited availability. And if you work from home, I'll add in there that sometimes your friends and family think you have unlimited availability because you're home all day, but really you have a job to do. You have things that you want to get accomplished so that you can be fully present with your family later. So even if you work from home and you don't have a boss, quote unquote, staring over you saying, no, you can't take 3 hours for lunch, you still need to have those boundaries. Okay, so we must discern where and how God wants us to invest our time and energy in this season of our life. And I want to really focus on the this season part of that, because it could be different next year. It could be different 5 years from now. But for right now, say, God, I'm not promised tomorrow, so how do you want me to use today? And then be really, really clear on following what he shows you to do. So this next little bit, we're going to take about 5 minutes, and we're going to think about what are the most important priorities for this season of your life. And I have a quote to share. If you don't have time for what matters, stop doing things that don't. If you don't have time for what matters, stop doing things that don't. So in other words, if it doesn't matter and you're doing it, let's say Kelly likes to use the example of scrolling through Facebook and looking at cute pictures of kids that you don't even really know. It's not that we don't love kids that we don't know. It's just that is not the best use of your time. You need to do your work so that you can enjoy the people that are in your life and that want to spend time with you. So let's take about 5 minutes and just think about, here's the prayer or the thought. What can I cut out? What can I cut out? And just maybe jot down just a few things. It might be one thing. It might be one category of things that just really needs to either have a serious boundary around it or just needs to be completely out. So let's take 5 minutes and think and pray about what God wants to show us. And I'll add, if you feel like sharing things in the chat that you're going to try to stop or at least slow down a little, feel free to put that in the chat. We have another minute or so. Okay, I see some people saying they're going to stop spending so much time on Facebook. Free up her, let's see, everything does not have to get done today. Free up my schedule. Hourly social media and email checks, big time wasters. And too much training without implementation is not wise. Oh, that was good. And I didn't, let's see, who was that? It went too fast. Let's see. That was Renelli Williams. Thank you. Lack of clarity leads to lack of planning, leads to laziness or depression, of overwhelm and discouragement. Very true. Oh, and then Dr. Pauline asks a question that I don't know, but maybe Dawn or Kelly could offer some wisdom there. Is there a way to bypass your personal page on Facebook to get directly to your business page? I'm sure more people would want to know the answer to that too, if you might know. And it's okay, Linda. We are glad you're here now. You'll get the recording that had the beginning later. Okay, so we'll go on to the next part. And this is a quote that I'll say slowly, and then hopefully someone can type it in the chat for me. This next part is your priorities aren't what you say they are. They are revealed by how you live. So again, your priorities aren't what you say they are. They are revealed by how you live. And that is also an unknown quote. I just found these images that had it with no person. So we'll say anonymous on that. But that's where what is in our planner and what we say are our priorities. And some people will say what your checkbook says about what your priorities are is also very telling. But what I want you to do in the next, let's say 3 minutes, is ask yourself and pray through, where are my planner and my priorities clashing? So we'll get back to that analogy about packing your outfits and making sure things go together, and that sometimes that you can wear things more than once or do things together with matching with other people. And an example of that, I don't think I gave an example. Let's say that one of your priorities is spending time with your friends. Another priority is getting exercise. And even another one is to have so many days where you meet with different people. So what I did in that situation is I have like 5 different people, maybe more than that I regularly walk with. And so we will go meet, if it's nice out, we'll meet at a park. If it is not great weather, I go inside, which is usually the mall. I'm one of those little mall walkers. And I will have them meet me and we will walk. So we will walk and talk. Some of them are on my team, so we'll do business meeting at the same time. So it's like you're getting it all in together. But if I don't schedule that time to get my exercise and to see people face to face, I really miss that. That is a huge priority to me. And so that is one way that I kind of mixed and matched. so that I could get more than one priority in at a time. So in that one 45-minute period, I'm getting 3 things accomplished. And it's not multitasking in the sense of doing 5 things at the same time and not paying attention to any of them. It is just making the best use of your time. And one other way to figure that kind of thing out is to get with your closest people. Let's say you make a list of 5 to 7 people that you really want to spend more time with, and say, okay, what are some things that you're missing that aren't happening in your life that you want to happen? And how can we match those things so that we can do them together? Maybe it's taking a new class. Maybe it's studying a new subject. Maybe it is community service work. Wherever you have, if you're attracted to that friend or that family member, there's probably a reason. Like you have similar interests, you have a similar heart for a certain group of people. So you just dig deep and ask lots of questions until you find a place and a space where you're not just going to see a movie, but you're doing something that you both want to do, you're spending time together, and you're getting to the heart of the things that haven't been on your list that really fill you up and you want to be on there. So I hope that makes that more clear. Okay, so your priorities aren't what you say they are revealed by how you live. So let's spend the next 3 minutes saying, where do my planner and my priorities clash right now? Suzanne asked, are we filling in page 8 yet? And no, we are actually just now going into page 7, I believe, on the handout. And as we did before, if you want to type in some of the things that are your takeaways from that session, I know this is very, personal, so don't do it unless you want to share with us. But someone said they haven't used a planner in years. It says I can't. I'll see. I'm looking forward to going old school for 2018. Oh, that is so funny, Christy. I can see that over planning could be an issue though. Okay, so this is the perfect session to go through and be prepared. Wonderful. Okay. So we're going to go to the next slide, Dawn, please. Okay, and so now that you have looked at what can you cut out, and then also where do your planner and your priorities clash, or where are they not agreeing with one another? hopefully you have a little bit of a list there or some ideas on what not to say yes to again. You might have some commitments that you need to see through, follow through with, and that is fine, but you'll know next time to not take that on. Or sometimes you might even have to go back and adjust what you said that you could do, so that it's mutually beneficial. You can still do, kind of be true to your commitment, but without maybe quite as much time involved. Just think creatively, pray about it, and see how you can match up your planner with your priorities. We're going to go to page 7 in your handout. And what we're going to do next is we're going to spend about 8 minutes or so identifying the home and business responsibilities that only you can do. And before you start thinking about that, if you think about, I love how Kelly has shared before how she's the only wife to John. So I'm the only wife that Mike has. I'm the only mom to my 3 girls. They're ages 11, just turned 6, and just turned 4. And I'm the only mama they have. Now, they're going to have other people in their lives. They're going to have friends. They're going to have teachers. They're going to have all those things. But as far as the roles that God has given me in those 2 categories, I'm the only one. Now, I'm not going to be, I clearly have not been given the organizational bone. And so they have some grace for me in that area, and we work together. Actually, my oldest child is way more organized than I am. So she helps me quite a bit on big projects like reorganizing a room or something like that. So play on each other's strengths and help each other manage your weaknesses as best you can as a family. But when you look at your list of priorities, there are things that other people could do that you are doing right now. And it may be things that you need to hire out or have someone else do, and you pay them to do it if you're in a position to do that. If not, maybe it goes on your wish list of things that you really want to be able to delegate soon. Or if you're like me and you have children, you can put them to work. I'm still learning how to do that the best, but we are definitely working together on projects more than we have been before, where I used to wait until they're in bed and then I would go try to clean up and make a path through the playroom type of thing. And now we are more working together and doing those things so that they're learning that if you get it out, you need to put it away, which that's also something God tells me because I'm not the most organized person. But whatever it is, look through what takes up your time. You almost have to track your time, literally, and write down, okay, from 3 to 4, what was I doing? From 4 to 5, what was I doing? And you look and you see, okay, so I am doing this now, but am I the only one who can do this, or could someone else do it so that I can live better into those priorities that only I can do? Hope that makes sense. So be thinking about that as you go through this. Make your list of the things that you have to do. And you can also circle the ones that as soon as you are able to do it financially, you would want to delegate or even trade out with someone else. I'm sure there are other people who have the skills and it comes really easy for them to do those things. And then you probably have a skill that you could trade out as well. So those are some options. But spend about the next 6 or 7 minutes on that. Let me see how we're doing on time. Let's do 5 minutes on that one. And just make a list. You can do a line down the middle and do your personal or your home on one side and then your business or your career on the other side. Okay, hopefully that gave you time. Let's see. I saw a message, okay, from Christy, and she said she has a hard time delegating things when it comes to work because she's responsible for the outcome. She doesn't mind delegating things to her husband or to close friends, but when it comes to business, it's more scary because she has to deal with it if something doesn't go well. And I'm sure Kelly would have more to add to this, but I also want you to consider, what is the cost of you doing everything? Meaning, if you can't delegate more, then that means you are stuck doing those things that other people could do. They won't do it exactly the way you do. Just like when my husband loads the dishwasher, I know this is such a silly example, but it takes all that I have to not go back and change it because it's not the way I would do it. But in reality, things still get clean, even if it's all not the way I would put it in there. So that's just such a silly example, but there will be a learning curve when we teach anyone anything. Just, it's also the reason why it's taken me longer to give more chores to my kids, because it takes maybe 10 times as long as it would you doing it by yourself as it does to show them while you're doing it, and then to let them do it with you, and then to watch them do it on their own. But once they get it, they get it. And then you are free of that responsibility, or at least you're free of that activity, and you can move on to something else where you're more of where you can answer questions when they have questions, but you're not doing it yourself every single day. So you'd have to weigh it between that, but with those two things. Is it worth teaching someone else to do this? Can you put parameters and checkpoints where before it goes out, you can kind of take a peek at it or something, but you don't have to do the whole thing. So there are varying degrees of delegating. Maybe I would just add that. Let's see. Who else had a comment? Oh, Linda, I'm sorry if you were feeling a little bit lost there. We're just writing out the things that only we can do in our life and business so that we can be really clear. And then there are going to be those things that we could either ask someone else to do or get help with or delegate. Let's see. Thank you, Christy. You were answering her question. And Pamela says, realizing how much of my business tasks I'll be able to hire a virtual assistant for eventually, or hire my daughter to do. Looking forward to that day. A lot of busy work sending out welcome packets, getting materials ready, and speaking engagements, paperwork types of things. Yes, oh my goodness, when we can do that, it frees you up to do the things that are going to really grow your business, and even just the things that you enjoy more. There's a lot to be said about how you're spending your time and whether it brings you joy or not. You could be really great at something, but if it drains you, then you need to delegate it, whether you're great at it or not. So let's see, love it. Okay, so now we're going to move on to, I think it's page 8 in the handout. And do I have another slide, Dawn? Yes, okay. So what are the most important priorities for this season of your life? And we've been talking about that a little bit, but as far as writing down, okay, I wrote down, where's my list? I've moved my list, but wife, mom, my business, and of course my relationship with God. Nobody else can do that but me. That's all on me. I can't delegate that one out. So to me, my ultimate purpose is to glorify God, get to know him better, and to love him with my life. And so if I'm going to do that, then that means my planner needs to have time with God on there every day. And what I learn about myself, it may be true for you too, is that the earlier in the day, preferably first thing, that I meet with God, the more he makes it clear every single step of the way during the day what needs to be done. And when I wait till the end of the day, I really miss out on his instruction and his guidance. So if that means getting up earlier, I know I went through a phase where I had to just majorly get up earlier than I had been. And it took some getting used to. And once I got used to it, though, I couldn't even imagine not doing that at the beginning of the day. And I kind of feel badly for my husband and my oldest daughter because I wasn't in that habit when she was young. And now that I am, it affects my parenting, it affects my relationships, it affects my work, it affects how I view quote unquote interruptions to my day. I'm more prayerful about all of those things when I meet with God first thing. So there's that part. But I would also, before we go into writing down the priorities for that season, yes, sorry, Kimberly Jane's asking me something. I would caution you on one thing. You may be in a season where it feels like one other priority isn't as important or that you can put it on hold. And one of those illustrations is the marriage and children illustration of you might have small kids at home, and so you think, well, you know, my husband can wait. He'll still be there when the kids are off in college. For now, I really need to focus on these kids because I only have them for a little bit of time. When in reality, God has made that union between you and your husband to be a lifelong union and a lifelong commitment to one another. As they said on Friends, he's your lobster. You're meant to mate for life and be together for life. And if you put off that relationship and kind of always have it on the back burner and it's second all the time, then by the time your children are in high school or college and they don't want to hang out with you as much because maybe they don't think you're as cool as they used to think you were, or whatever reason, it's just they're growing up and they don't need you as much, then you might not remember what you loved about your husband, or he might not feel like he knows you anymore. And those things really happen, and it is so devastating. So I would just say keep those things, even if you are in a season where your kids need more attention and more time, still carve out that time to have to make your spouse feel like a priority. And so that's my little soapbox on that one. And then same goes for friendships, though. You might be in a busy season where I know there's a group of girls that I get together with often, and we've been getting together for 17 years. And when it started out 17 years ago, we were single and had no children, and we could get together once a week, sometimes more than that. It was crazy because we had all this time, and then one by one we would get married, and so then it would be a little bit less frequent, and then we would start having kids, and then it would be less frequent. But what we found was we had to set certain times that we were going to meet. So let's say it's once a month, we're going to get together. And then whoever can, come on out, great. But if you can't make it, that's okay. But we're still going to be in the habit of meeting. It won't be as frequent, but we're going to keep that connection open and keep that happen. We have a set Christmas party that we do at the first Saturday of every December. And that's a standing thing. Like we know we have that on our calendar from here on. So that nobody has scheduling conflicts. We keep that open for each other. And it's just a really special time for us to connect and see each other. We have 2 people that don't live here locally. And so just knowing that we can make those arrangements and have a plan to get together. If we get together more than that, that's wonderful. But even in those busy seasons, making time for friendships, because you're going to have those hard times that come. You're going to have sickness, or you're going to have a loss of a spouse, or you're going to have a loss of just horrible things that could happen. Everybody is going to have some sort of struggles, and you don't want to wait until that struggle to find your best friend or to have somebody who's going to be there for you. You need to have those relationships and have them cultivated and nurtured, even if it is totally different than how it used to be. Doesn't mean you have to stop supporting that person and loving that person. Maybe you used to get together once a week, but now you can send a text or a voice note, or you can send a card, or you can just be active on their Facebook page enough to say, I care about you. I want to know what's happening in your life. I don't have as much time as I used to, but you're still important to me. So think of ways that you can show people that they are a priority to you, even if the season has changed and the timing has changed. So let's spend the next, let's see, how much time do we have? Let's spend the next 3 minutes going through, I think it's on your page 8 of your handout, where you have your priorities, and then you have next to it how you are going to live that out. Jeannie, she says, what if your life has been nothing but child husband and nobody else? You don't even know who you are. Well, first of all, Jeannie, you're still here. So that means we can definitely work on this. And maybe that is your focus for a season, is to think about what it is you like, what it is you love to do. But yes, we don't want to invest so much and pour so much into your children and your husband that there isn't anything other than that. But Jeannie, I will be praying for you that God shows you exactly how to fill yourself up in those areas that have been depleted and dry. And I just pray that for all of you, that you will find those things that fill you up and that make you excited to get up in the morning, and that you can find exciting ways to put that into your planner so that you don't just wake up and you think, oh, that movie Groundhog Day, it's the same. You can get worn out and weary and grouchy and not a happy person to be around if there's nothing in your life that you love. I read a quote earlier today that said some people die at age 25 and then they wait to be buried at 75 or something like that. I'm saying it wrong, but it was a Benjamin Franklin quote. And we have to have those things that bring us excitement and joy, even if times are busy and if lots of people need us right now. We're a person too, as my husband says. Sometimes I'll make recipes that I know the kids will eat. And one day he said, well, I'm a person. And I'm sorry, it just hit me funny. And I laughed so hard because he had to say, well, I'm a person, because I was just making things that the kids liked. And we would only go to restaurants that the kids liked. And so anyway, we have to just consider that you are a person too. And there are things that only you can identify about yourself that you're missing. For me, I love music. I love to listen to worship. I love to sing. So when that part of my life is out of balance and I don't have that music in my life, it really affects me. So what are those things in your life that you know are missing and that you want to put back into your life in some way? I'll give you 5 minutes or so to think about that and look through that handout on page 8, I believe it is. Oh, and Melissa, I'm just seeing your post. What if you don't have a husband or child? I'm sorry, I thought I mentioned that earlier. Whatever that is, as far as something that you're passionate about, it could be your extended family. It could be a cause that you are dedicated to. My baby sister, she's 8 years younger than me. She is not married. She does not have children, but she has a fur baby, and she is passionate about helping animals. And so she dedicates time, energy, resources. She collects things for the Humane Society. So whatever it is that makes your heart just excited, the things that make you angry sometimes are an indication. If there are things that make you upset and then other people don't seem to get upset about it, maybe that's pointing to a passion that you have, or something that you're equipped to deal with that others aren't. So I would spend time specifically praying for God to show you what He has uniquely gifted you to do and what He has made you passionate about, so that you can incorporate those things into your schedule. Okay, I hope that gave everybody enough time to kind of think that through. I know that's something that we need to revisit daily, weekly, a lot. So those things aren't going to stay the same. They will be changing. Some are by the year, some are by the season. It just depends on what's going on. I want to close us in prayer, and then Kelly's going to come on and really close out the day. But I just want you to know that wherever you are, I'm just so glad that you have had this time and that hopefully God has shown you some things that maybe weren't as clear before. But know that our team is praying for you through this. We read back through these comments, and just know that it goes beyond this session. We will be praying for you and encouraging you. And when you need more direction, just give us an update on how you're doing. We care and we want to see how far you come in all these areas. So I'll say a prayer that I've written out for you guys. Lord, help each woman hearing this prayer know exactly what priorities to focus on in this season. Help her use the gifts and talents that you have given her to be a blessing to others. And please help her be refreshed and excited about the work you have given her to do. Give her peace in saying no to the things that don't fit for this season. Help her to do this season of life full of joy that only comes from living for you, living a life of intention, and living the life that is dedicated to honoring you. In Jesus' name, amen. Okay, Kelly, I'll hand it over to you.
Thank you, Leanne. That was so good. All right, so I know this session seemed a little confusing based on kind of what I was seeing in the chat. And really, to kind of summarize all the awesome things that Leanne said, it's really to focus on what is most important to you and how are you intentionally going to live into that. I loved Leanne's questions of, where are our priorities and our planner clashing? And I think having some honest dialogue with ourselves about what we say we want compared to where we are and what we're doing and how we're living our life. And so I want to encourage you tonight. I know we're ending this time, depending on where you are, different times throughout the world at the moment. But if you have a little bit of time to reflect, I'm going to take 5 or 10 minutes here before I go and play mom to just sit here and to kind of summarize like what I've gotten out of today. And I would encourage you to do the same. You might need to wait until later this evening, but to really sit with this, to be clear on your priorities and how you're going to intentionally live into those things. And then tomorrow we'll talk about, well, how do we actually put that in our calendar so it gets done? This has been day 1. It's been the entry point to where we're going. Tomorrow we're covering some foundational things that are going to be key for you creating your success plan for 2018. So I hope you have an awesome evening. Many of us will not be online in the Facebook group. So if you comment there, you can do that, but I'll see it tomorrow morning before we go live. So grateful for you. So grateful we've had this time. And I just want to encourage you to really spend time with God this evening, just getting focused on where He's leading you and asking Him to continue to lead and guide you, and that you're listening for His voice. All right, I'll see you tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. Eastern Time. Bye-bye.